They told me to take off my shirt on my first day. Every alpha on that floor was watching. Not one of them knew that under my collar, I outranked all of them. Clean intake, the man said, like he was reading a lunch menu. Shirt off, arms out, takes a minute. His badge said Lyle Prentice, floor compliance. He had the soft, pleased face of a guy who had never once been asked to do the thing he was asking. Sure, I said. You want the shoes too? Or are we saving something for the second date? Somebody near the copier made a sound like a cough that had gone wrong. Prentice did not laugh. That was fine. I have never needed an audience to enjoy myself. Here is what you need to know about the 9th floor of Kestrel Marine at 9 in the morning. It smells like burnt coffee and salt air coming off the harbor through vents nobody has cleaned since the 90s. 40 desks, 3 glass offices, and 1 long window looking down at the container cranes on Locust Point, red and enormous, folding and unfolding over the water like they were praying about something. And alphas. So many alphas. Kestrel runs bond-verified contracts, which is a fancy way of saying that when they sign a salvage claim, the scent in the room is part of the paperwork. That is why suppressants are banned on the trading floor. That is the actual rule, and it is a real rule, and Prentice was not making it up. He was just only enforcing it on me. Policy applies to all new hires, he said. I set my bag down on the empty desk they had assigned me. 3rd from the window, 1 drawer missing a handle. How many new hires did you clean intake last quarter, Mr. Prentice? Several. Alphas? He smiled at me. Policy applies to all new hires. So we understood each other. Good. I like knowing where I stand, even when where I stand is at the bottom of a well. 23 people were watching by then. I counted, because counting is what I do instead of panicking. A guy 2 desks over had frozen with his coffee halfway up, and it stayed there so long I started to worry about his wrist. Another one, tall, older, cardigan, would not look at me at all, and somehow that was worse than the ones who did. Behind my ribs, the air was going tight. That is the part I cannot explain to anyone, so I will explain it to you. I can hold air still, not much of it. A layer about the thickness of a coat, pressed flat to my skin, and nothing gets out through it. No scent. No warmth. 3 years of doing it every waking hour is why nobody at Kestrel had ever caught a single note off me, why the intake form listed me as unremarkable, why I could walk into a building I technically owned and get handed a desk with a broken drawer. It costs. My skull was already filling with that low, thick pressure, the kind that makes your teeth feel like they belong to somebody else. And the moment my pulse jumps, the whole thing collapses. My pulse was jumping. Hold it, Isaac. Count the cranes. There's a scent officer downstairs, Prentice said, checking his watch. We can do it here, or we can do it in registry. And that was the actual threat, tucked inside the polite one. Registry meant a scan. Registry meant a file. Registry meant a name run against the Harbor Pack ledger. And if you run my name against the Harbor Pack ledger, a very old alarm goes off in a very quiet office, and a clock starts that I cannot stop. 30 days. That is what the ledger gives you once your mark is on the record. 30 days to sit the chair or lose it to the standing claim, and there is exactly 1 man alive who has a standing claim on the Kestrel chair, and I would rather burn this building down with me inside it than hand it to him. So, here then. Sorry, I said, and started on my cuffs. Just want to make sure I understand the format. Do I turn around or is this more of a fixed camera situation? Quillen. A voice from the glass office. Not raised. It did not need to be. I did not look up. I already knew. Some voices live in your spine. You can go 3 years, 2 states, and 1 funeral without hearing one. And then it says 4 letters and your whole body remembers a hallway in the rain. Is this cleared? Nathaniel Crowe was still reading something. 1 hand on the doorframe, half his attention in a document. Head of Operations. 34. The kind of tired that has money behind it. New hire, sir. Intake. Then run it. 2 words. He signed off on me without looking. The way you approve a parking request. Then he looked. I watched it land. The document came down about 6 inches. His jaw worked once, like he was chewing on a word and had decided against swallowing it. 3 years ago, Nathaniel Crowe stood in the rain outside a house in Canton and told me he could not accept the bond, and he did me the courtesy of not explaining why, and I did him the courtesy of not asking. I have been extremely normal about it ever since. Quillen, he said again, different this time, softer, which I hated. Mr. Crowe. I got the second cuff. You're in my light. Something happened in his face. He stepped forward, and I honestly do not know what he was going to say, and I will never know, because I did not give him the chance. Because here is the thing about being rejected in front of somebody. You only get one first time. After that, you get to decide how it goes. I opened the first button. The pressure in my skull went from a hum to a hand, warm and wet at the edge of my nostril, and I sniffed it back and kept going. Second button. You knew this was coming. You picked this floor. You picked this desk. Third. 23 people. Nobody typing. The cranes turning over the water, red and slow. Fourth. Quillen, stop, Nathaniel said. Fifth. I pulled the shirt open, and the sound that came out of Lyle Prentice was not a word at all. Behind him, the man in the cardigan finally looked at me, and every bit of color left his face, and his hand went out for a desk that was not there. The color came out of the cardigan man's face, and it did not come back. He caught the edge of a desk that belonged to someone else and stayed there, bent slightly, staring at my chest like it had spoken to him. Nobody else moved. 23 people who had all been extremely busy 4 seconds ago, and now the only sound on the 9th floor was the harbor coming through the vents, and one phone ringing somewhere. Nobody was going to answer. I know what they were looking at. I have looked at it in a mirror more times than is healthy. A kestrel, wings folded, burned into the skin over my sternum. Not inked, burned. The lines are thick and slightly raised and the color of old rope, and the bird's head is turned back over its own shoulder, the way the ones on the harbor pilings do when the water changes. 8 inches across. You cannot mistake it for a tattoo. You cannot mistake it for anything if you work in this building, because there is a smaller version of it stamped on every claim form on every desk on this floor. That's, Prentice said. He did not have a second half of that sentence. It was interesting to watch him look for one. I shrugged the shirt back up over one shoulder, slow, taking my time, because the floor was cold and my hands were shaking, and I would rather they thought I was being dramatic than that they knew. Clean intake, I said. That's the phrase, right? Am I clean? Nobody said, Prentice said. Nobody told me. To be fair, you didn't ask. I got the shirt onto the other shoulder. You asked me to take it off. That's a different question. Very different results. The blood came again at my nostril, and this time, I did not catch it fast enough. It hit the collar of a white shirt that I had ironed at 6 that morning, in an apartment with one working outlet. I wiped my mouth with the back of my wrist and looked at the smear and thought, well, that's $40. You're bleeding, said Nathaniel. He was closer now. I had not heard him cross the floor, which meant my hearing was going, which meant I had been holding the pressure too long, which meant I had about 4 minutes before the whole thing dropped, and every alpha in this room got a lungful of me at once. 4 minutes was enough. 4 minutes was plenty. Dry air, I said. The vents in here are a war crime. Isaac? And there it was, my first name, in that voice, in a room with lights on. 3 years of practicing what I would do if he ever said it again, and what I actually did was nothing at all, for 1 full second, like a man who had walked into a glass door. Then I buttoned the 4th button. Mr. Crowe, I said, you're still in my light. Something moved through his scent. I have not smelled him in 3 years. Cold iron and cut cedar, the same as the day he stood in the rain and told me he could not. And my body did the thing bodies do, which is to say it betrayed me instantly and completely. A hot pull low in my stomach that had absolutely no business being there. Traitor, I told it. He said no, out loud, in weather. Your desk assignment is wrong, Nathaniel said. It has a broken drawer, but I like a project. That isn't what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. I got the 3rd button. You mean somebody with that on his chest doesn't sit 3rd from the window. You want to fix my desk, Mr. Crowe, or do you want to explain why a man with that on his chest applied for a job here in the first place. His eyes went to my sternum, then up, then away, and I watched him decide not to ask in front of 23 people. Smart. He was always smart. That was never the problem. "Prentice," he said, "everyone back to work. Sir, respectfully, we have a verification obligation. That mark has to be logged with registry within the business day, or the floor's contracts are void. I don't make the rule. The rule is the reason we have a floor." And there it was, the clock, walking toward me on 2 legs, wearing a lanyard. 30 days from the moment my mark hits the ledger. 30 days to sit the chair or lose it to the standing claim. And I had come here with a plan that needed 11 weeks, 4 signatures, and one very specific person not finding out I was in Baltimore. I had been on the 9th floor for 19 minutes. "Log it tomorrow," I said. "That's not. Log it tomorrow, and I'll tell you what's in the Halloran salvage file." The floor did not go quiet, because it was already quiet. It went a different kind of quiet. The cardigan man made a small sound. Somebody at the back said a word I will not repeat. Nathaniel turned all the way around. "What did you say?" "Halloran." I did the second button. "Barge 4. Cargo manifest. Insurance short by $211,000. Kestrel's carrying it as a pending recovery. It's been pending for 14 months. I looked up at him. There's no recovery coming. Somebody on this floor knows that and keeps recertifying it every 90 days, and the last 3 certifications have the same initials, and they're not yours. His face did something I had never seen it do. "How do you know that?" "I applied for a job here, Mr. Crowe. I read the annual. I finished the top button and straightened my collar, blood and all. You should try it. It's very short." The pressure in my skull picked that exact moment to slip. Not all of it, a seam, a thin thread of me got out into the air of that room, one breath of it, sweet and warm and unmistakably omega, and I saw it land on him like a hand. Nathaniel Crowe stopped breathing. Not a metaphor. His chest stopped. His pupils went wide and black, and every line in his shoulders pulled toward me half an inch before he caught it, and his hand closed on the back of the nearest chair hard enough that the plastic complained. I slammed the pressure shut, and the pain came down behind my eyes like a door. "Sorry," I said, and my voice came out wrong, thinner than I wanted. "Vents." "Isaac." "Third from the window," I said. "Broken drawer. I'll be at it if anyone needs me." I made it 4 steps. On the 5th, the elevator at the far end of the floor opened, and a man walked out with a garment bag over his arm and a smile already on his face, and Prentice straightened up so fast his lanyard swung. I knew that smile from the other side of a hospital bed. "There he is," my brother said. "God, Isaac, you look terrible." "Thank you," I said. "I moisturize." Corbin came down the aisle between the desks, the way he goes everywhere, like the floor had been waiting for him, and was relieved he had finally shown up. Charcoal coat, garment bag folded over his forearm. 2 people said good morning to him before he had crossed half the room, and he answered both of them by name, and I watched Prentice actually tuck his shirt in. My brother is very good at rooms. He has been good at them since he was 9. "You're bleeding on your collar," he said. "It's a look. I'm testing it. It's not a good one." He stopped an arm's length away and studied me, head tipped, warm as a fireplace. "Hello, Isaac." "Hello, Corbin." I kept my hands loose at my sides. That was work. Everything about that was work. Because here is the arithmetic I had been doing since the elevator opened. There is exactly 1 person alive with a standing claim on the Kestrel chair, and he was standing close enough for me to smell the coffee on him, and he was not supposed to know I was in this state, let alone this building, let alone this floor at 9:19 in the morning, with my shirt buttoned crooked and my nose bleeding into it. Behind me, cold iron went sharp. Nathaniel had not moved, but his scent had, and it had opinions. "Mr. Quillen," he said. "Nathaniel?" Corbin smiled past me. "You've had a morning. You know each other," I said. "We've met." Corbin's eyes came back to mine and stayed. Twice, actually. Once in a conference room, once in a hallway in Canton, though I don't think he saw me for that one. The floor tilted about 2 degrees. "Don't," I thought. "Don't you dare react in front of these people." "You were there," I said. I was in the car. He said it gently, which was the worst possible way to say it. It was raining. You didn't have a coat. I sat there for 11 minutes deciding whether to get out, and then you walked past the window, and you didn't see me either. And I thought, all right, he'll want to keep that one. Something in my chest went hot and small, like a coal you can hold if you are quick about it. You could have knocked, I said. I know. There was a whole car, right there, with heat in it. I know, Isaac. He said my name the way you set down something breakable. That is his real weapon, not the smile. He can be sorry at you so beautifully that you forget to ask what he is sorry for. I looked down at the garment bag on his arm. Gray wool. I could see the shoulder of it through the plastic. And the thing about a garment bag is that it does not happen. Somebody hangs a suit in it and carries it across a city on a Tuesday morning because they already know where it is going. Who's that for? I said. You. The vents kept moving harbor air around the ceiling. The cranes kept folding over the water. 23 people kept pretending to work, while listening so hard I could feel it on my skin. Corbin. Your size is on file with the tailor from Dad's funeral, he said. You wore the jacket once and left it in the coat check, which I thought was a statement, so I had them keep the measurements. He held the bag out. You can't sit a claim hearing in that shirt. There isn't a hearing. There is now. The pressure behind my eyes had gone from a hand to a fist, and I could hear my own pulse in my left ear and nothing at all in the right, and I understood, in a distant sort of way, that I was going to have to sit down soon whether or not I wanted to. Say the rest of it, I said. Registry opened at 8. He did not enjoy it. That is the part I keep having to explain to people about my brother, and nobody ever believes me. He did not enjoy it. The charter mark on you was entered at 8:04 this morning, under a good faith third-party filing, which starts your 30 days. I filed it myself so that nobody else could file it worse. Somebody at the back of the floor said, very quietly, "Oh my God." Prentice looked at his own clipboard like it had personally deceived him. And Nathaniel Crowe said, in a voice with the temperature stripped out of it, "You logged an Omega's charter mark before he'd been in the building an hour. Before he walked in the door, actually. He hadn't consented to a scent verification. He doesn't have to. A mark filing isn't a scent filing." Corbin turned his head, unhurried, and I saw the exact moment he stopped being warm. It is like a window losing the sun. You'd know that if you'd ever read the charter you enforce. Section 4. It's 2 paragraphs long, Nathaniel, and one of them is about birds. Corbin, I said. I'm not the villain of this, he said. To me, only to me. In 30 days you either sit the chair or the claim reverts. If you were going to spend 11 weeks quietly collecting signatures on the 9th floor, wearing a shirt, hoping nobody looked at you, then somebody was going to file eventually. Prentice was going to file today. He was going to file it in a hallway with a scent officer, and it was going to go into the record as a compliance action, and that follows you forever. He pushed the garment bag into my hands. I filed it as family. That's the difference. That's the only difference I could give you, and I gave it to you at 8:04 in the morning. The bag was heavier than a suit should be. You want the chair, I said. Yes. You've always wanted the chair. Yes. His eyes were wet, which was outrageous of him, and I would rather you fought me for it than hid from me for another 3 years. My nose started again. I did not bother with my wrist this time. 30 days, I said. 29 and change. Then get out of my light, I said. Both of you. I have a drawer to fix. And I made it exactly as far as the chair third from the window, before my right ear filled with a long white sound, and the floor came up to meet my shoulder. The floor was not as cold as I expected. That was my first thought. My second was that I had not actually reached the floor. There was an arm under my shoulders and another one behind my knees, and the world was moving sideways past me in long, slow pieces. Ceiling tile, light, ceiling tile, and the sound in my right ear had gone from white to a kind of ocean. Cold iron, cut cedar. Oh, absolutely not. Put me down. No. Nathaniel. You said my name, he said. That's the first time in 3 years. I'm going to enjoy it later, when you're not gray. I would like the record to show that I had a truly excellent response ready. It was going to be devastating. but the pressure came off my skin all at once, the way it does when I lose it instead of releasing it, and everything I had been holding in for 19 minutes and 3 years went out of me and into the air between us. He stopped walking. I felt it happen against my back. The whole length of him went rigid, and his arms tightened, and his head came down until his mouth was somewhere above my hair, and he breathed in like a man surfacing. "God," he said, "don't." "I'm not doing anything. You're breathing at me with intent. I can hear it." The ocean in my ear pulled back a little, enough to catch the sound he made, which was not a laugh, but was related to one. Somebody was holding a door. Prentice, I think, looking at the door frame with tremendous concentration. Then a smaller room, quieter, a window with a blind half down and the cranes cut into red stripes behind it. He set me on a couch that smelled like other people's meetings. "Head down," he said. "I'm fine. Isaac, I'm fine. It's a nosebleed. I've had 400 of them. I have a whole system. I got my elbow under me, and the room performed a slow revolution. Give me 20 seconds and a paper towel, and I'll be insufferable again." He crouched in front of the couch so we were level. That was worse. From that distance I could see the gray coming in at his temple that had not been there in the rain, and a small white scar through his eyebrow that had not been there either, and I hated that I was cataloging him. I hated that some part of me had kept a file open this whole time, waiting. 400, he said. Approximately. From what? Dry air. Isaac. Baltimore has terrible air. It's a documented issue. Someone should write to the mayor. He looked at me. He has a way of not filling silences that used to make me tell him things I had not planned to say, and 3 years had not improved my defenses against it even slightly. "You held it," he said. I did not answer. On the floor, the whole time. There wasn't a note of you in that room, and then there was for half a second, and then there wasn't again. His jaw worked. "You were doing something. It's costing you blood." "You know what else costs blood," I said. Standing in the rain, telling somebody you can't accept a bond, and then going home to a car with heat in it, that was extremely expensive. Emotionally. For me. His hands went still on his knees. I said. "There it is. That's the face. Do it again. I want to remember it." "That's fair." "I know it's fair. I've had 36 months to work on it." "Then say the rest of it." "There isn't a rest of it." My voice cracked on the second word, and I would like that stricken from the record. "There's just that. You stood there and you said you couldn't, and you didn't say why, and I said fine, and I walked 11 blocks in the rain, thinking about all the ways you could have said it differently, and then I stopped thinking about it. Completely. I never think about it. Ask anyone." The blind ticked against the window frame. Down on Locust Point, a crane took a container off a stack and held it in the air. "I couldn't tell you why," he said. Couldn't. He said it flat. "That word is doing everything it can, Isaac. Let it work." I sat up properly. The room stayed where it was, which I took as a personal victory. "You're going to have to do better than a modal verb. You were 23. He was looking at the floor between us now. "You'd been in the country 6 weeks with a mark on your chest you hadn't told me about. And I found out the way everyone found out, which is that somebody put a photograph on my desk." Everything in me went very cold. "What photograph?" "You, in a doorway, getting changed." His hands closed. "Whoever took it wanted me to know 2 things, that you had the charter mark, and that they could get that close to you." The ocean came back in my right ear, softer. "You never said. If I'd bonded you that week, you'd have been the chairman's mate before you were anything else. Every claim on that floor would have gone through your body." He looked up, so I said no. In the rain, in front of a window, loudly enough. "And I have spent 3 years watching the harbor to find out who took that picture, and I have not found out. And this morning a man with your face walked onto my floor and started unbuttoning his shirt in front of 23 people, and I have never in my life been so frightened." I could not breathe correctly. That was not the pressure. That was the other thing. "You should have told me," I said. "I'd have been furious with you, and we'd have handled it. I'm extremely good in a crisis. I once organized a funeral with a fever. I know." You didn't get to decide for me. I know that too. He said it without defending himself, which was infuriating, because I had a whole second half prepared. He reached out, slowly, telegraphing it the entire way, and pressed a folded paper towel into my hand. His fingers touched mine for less than a second, and my whole arm went warm to the shoulder. Isaac, he said quietly. Who else knew about the mark? 3 years ago. And I opened my mouth to say nobody. And then I remembered a car in the rain, parked 11 minutes, with the heat on. Nobody, I said. He did not blink. He is very good at not blinking. Isaac. I said nobody. I pressed the towel to my nose harder than it needed. Our father. The man who put it there. And he's been dead 4 years, so unless he's developed new interests, I think we can rule him out. That's 2 people. That's 1 person and a corpse. You waited before you answered. I was bleeding. You've been bleeding this entire conversation, and it hasn't slowed you down once. I hated him. I want that on the record. I hated him with my whole chest, and my hands were sweating, and there was a car in the rain sitting behind my eyes with its engine running. Ask me the actual question, I said. All right. He stayed crouched. He did not come closer, which I noticed, and which I resented noticing. Does your brother know what's on your chest? The blind ticked. The crane out on the point set the container down. Everyone knows now, I said. You were in the room. Before this morning. Nathaniel. Before 8:04. And I could have said it. It would have taken 4 words. He filed it, so yes. Anyone who has been in a room with Corbin Quillen for 9 seconds could put that together, and Nathaniel had already put it together, and he was asking anyway, because he wanted me to be the one who said it out loud. That is the thing about being handled by someone who loves you. It still feels like being handled. Here's what I know, I said. I know my brother had that suit measured at a funeral 4 years ago. I know he had it in a bag on his arm this morning. I know he was in a car in the rain the night you did what you did. 11 minutes. Close enough to see me through a window. Isaac. And I know that if I say the next sentence out loud, I'm going to believe it. My voice came out steadier than I felt, which is a skill I have paid for. So I'm going to need a minute before I let you have it. Please. Something passed over his face. He sat back on his heels and gave me the minute. Actually gave it. Did not fill it. Did not soften it. Did not reach for my hand. The vents moved harbor air around the little room. He raised me, I thought. After Mom. After Dad got sick. He signed my school forms. He learned how to make the one soup I would eat. He drove me to the hospital at 2 in the morning with a fever of 104 and told me a story about a bird the entire way there so I would not notice we were speeding. And he was in a car, in the rain, 11 minutes. Okay, I said. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Stop being decent at me. It's disorienting. I lowered the towel. Ask it again. Did Corbin know? Yes. The word came out of me like a splinter. He was there when it was done. He was 17. He held my hand while our father put it on me, and he told me to count the birds on the wallpaper, and I got to 9 before I passed out. Nathaniel closed his eyes. That doesn't make him the one who took the photograph, I said. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, he agreed. It makes him one of 2 living people who could have, and the other one is you. Then it's neither of us, and you've wasted 3 years watching a harbor. Possibly. Say it like you mean it. I can't, he said, and I'm not going to lie to you in a room this small. I put my head back against the couch and looked at the ceiling. There was a water stain up there shaped roughly like Delaware. You know what the worst part is? I said. Tell me. He'd have a reason. My throat closed around it. That's the whole horror of him, Nathaniel. If he took that picture and put it on your desk, he did it because he'd worked out that you'd walk away, and he'd worked out that walking away would keep me off the ledger, and he'd have sat in that car for 11 minutes calling it protection. And the truly upsetting thing is that he'd be right. It worked. I got 3 years. That isn't protection. No, I said. It's arithmetic. He's very good at arithmetic. Down on the point, a horn went off, long and low, and the sound came up through the floor, and into the couch, and into my back. So we find out. Nathaniel said. We. You have 29 days and change, and I have a floor full of people who watched you take your shirt off. So yes, we. You are aware, I said, that I came here to take this company apart, with a paper trail and a broken drawer, and you are the head of operations, and by any reasonable measure, I should be doing this to you. I'm aware. The Halloran file has your signature on it too. Further down, page 6. I know. He met my eyes. I'd like to be there when you find out what it means, whichever way it goes. And that, right there, is the trouble with Nathaniel Crowe. He does not argue his own innocence. He just stands where you can see him and lets you look. I sat up and swung my feet down, and my knee ended up against his shoulder, and neither of us moved it. Fine, I said, but I want 3 things. Name them. 1. Nobody scent verifies me. Not Prentice, not registry, not you. My scent is mine and I'll spend it where I want to. Done. 2. When you find out who took that picture, you tell me before you do anything about it. Not after. Not gently. Before. His jaw tightened. Done. 3. I looked at him. He was still crouched, still level with me, close enough that his breath moved the towel in my hand. Say the thing you didn't say in the rain. The room got extremely small. Now? You've had 3 years and a car with heat in it. Yes, now? He was quiet for so long that I nearly took it back. Then he reached up and, very carefully, tucked the loose side of my collar down flat over the top edge of the mark, covering it, like he was putting a lid on something. I wanted you, he said, before I knew what you were. That was the problem. Everything after was arithmetic. My heart went somewhere unhelpful. The door opened without a knock. Isaac, Corbin said from the doorway, and his face was wrong, all the warmth gone out of it. There's a scent officer downstairs with a registry escort, and they're not here for you. He looked past me, at Nathaniel. They're here for him. I stood up too fast and the room tilted, and I put my hand on the arm of the couch and pretended I had meant to do that. Say that again. 2 of them, Corbin said. 1 officer, 1 escort, badges out. They asked the front desk for Nathaniel Crowe by name, and they've already been given the 9th floor. Nathaniel came up off his heels without any particular hurry, and that was somehow the most alarming thing that had happened all morning. Registry escorts don't come for operations staff, he said. They do if operations staff has a scent complaint filed against him. Corbin was still in the doorway with the garment bag over his arm, and his voice had gone flat and fast, the way it goes when he is doing arithmetic out loud. Unconsented exposure, 9th floor, this morning, 23 witnesses. The blind ticked against the window. Me, I said. That's me. That's my scent. Yes. Nobody filed anything. I've been in this building 40 minutes. I'd know. You'd have to be the complainant to know, Corbin said. And you're not. Nathaniel had gone very still by the couch. I watched him work it through, and I watched him get where I got, and neither of us liked it. Prentice, I said. Prentice held the door, Nathaniel said quietly. He held it while I carried you through it. That's not a defense, that's a timestamp. I'm aware. Then who? I turned on my brother. Because from where I'm standing, there's a man in this building with a lanyard who got told no in front of 23 people, and there's a man in this doorway with a suit in a bag who has been 11 minutes ahead of me since 8:04 in the morning, and I would love, Corbin, absolutely love, for you to tell me it wasn't you. His face did something I have only seen twice, once at the hospital, once in a kitchen with a casserole dish in his hands. It wasn't me. Convince me. I can't, he said it plainly. That's the problem with being the person who plans things. Once you've done it twice, nobody believes the 3rd time. He set the bag down on a chair, careful with it, and straightened. So don't believe me, check. There's a filing window and a timestamp and a complainant field, and you're going to look at all 3, because that's who you are. I'd rather you found it yourself than took my word. Convenient. Deeply. He almost smiled. It's also true. Down the hall, the elevator chimed. Everything in my chest dropped about 4 inches. Nathaniel, I said. I heard it. They take you into registry. They hold you 72 hours pending a scent panel. 72 hours off this floor. 72 hours where you can't sign anything, certify anything, or stop anyone else from doing either. I was moving before I finished the sentence. Halloran recertifies on a 90-day cycle. When's the next one? He looked at me. Nathaniel, when's the next one? Thursday, he said. That's 3 days. Yes. So somebody wants you in a room without a pen for exactly long enough. Voices at the far end of the floor now. Prentice saying something about a conference room, and a woman's voice, brisk, and another one lower under it. I got my hand flat on Nathaniel's chest and pushed him back a step from the door, which was like pushing a parked car, except that he let me. Take off your jacket, I said. What? Your jacket. Give it here. Now, please, we have about 9 seconds. He did it. He did it without asking a single question, which I am going to think about later for approximately the rest of my life, and I took it and put it on. It was enormous on me. It came down over my hands. It was full of him, cold iron and cedar, saturated, the way clothes get when someone has lived in them all morning through a bad hour. Isaac. Unconsented exposure, I said. The claim is that your scent was on me without my consent. Yes. So I'm about to walk out there absolutely covered in it, on purpose, in front of everybody, and I'm going to be extremely cheerful about it. I dragged the collar up around my jaw. Consent, Mr. Crowe. It's a beautiful thing, very hard to prosecute. He caught my wrist. They'll log it, he said. It goes in the record as a scent event, on your file, permanently. That's the thing your brother spent 3 years keeping off you, and you're about to hand it to them in a hallway. I know exactly what I'm doing. Isaac, I know what it costs. My voice went somewhere thin and I let it. You made this decision for me in the rain, and I have been furious about it for 3 years. So I'm making this one myself, out loud, standing up, and you are going to let me, because that's the actual difference between you and everyone else who has ever tried to protect me. He looked at me, and then he pulled me in by the wrist he was already holding and kissed me. It was not gentle. It was 3 years of a man not saying something, arriving all at once, one hand at my jaw, and the other still around my wrist like he had forgotten he was holding it. My back found the doorframe. His breath went ragged against my mouth, and I made a sound I intend to deny under oath, and every inch of me, that had spent 3 years sealed shut, came open at the same time. The pressure dropped completely. My scent went everywhere. His scent went everywhere. The little room filled up with both of us, and there was no arithmetic anywhere in it. He broke off with his forehead against mine, breathing like he had run somewhere. For the record, he said, unsteady, that was consent. That was evidence, I said. Which is better? Footsteps at the door. I stepped past him into the hallway in a jacket 4 sizes too big, smelling like the head of operations, with my chin up and my nose still faintly bleeding, straight toward 2 badges and a clipboard. Morning, I said brightly. I hear somebody filed something about my body. Can I see the name on it, or is that a surprise? The officer looked at her clipboard, then at me, then back down. The complainant, she said, is you. I laughed. It came out before I could stop it, one short, ugly bark of a thing, and both badges looked up at me with identical patient expressions, and behind me, I heard Nathaniel's breathing change. No, I said. Try again. I'm right here. I have hands. I'd remember. Filing came in at 8:51. The officer turned the clipboard so I could see it, which I appreciated more than I let on. Digital submission through the employee portal. Credentialed. Your name, your hire number, your building badge. My badge that I got at 8:40. Yes. 11 minutes. Yes. 11 minutes. Everything in my life is 11 minutes. I read the field twice. Quillen, Isaac, complainant. Under it, in a box meant for a narrative statement, 4 sentences in language nobody has ever spoken out loud, the kind of prose that comes out of a template. Subject exposed the undersigned to unconsented scent influence in a workplace setting. Undersigned. I have never used the word undersigned in my life. I would sooner die. Somebody wrote this in my voice, I said, and did it badly, which honestly offends me more than the fraud. You're saying you didn't submit it. I'm saying I've been busy, fainting, bleeding, being carried around like a piece of furniture. I pushed the clipboard back at her. Can you withdraw it? You can withdraw it, if you're the complainant. I'm not the complainant. Then you can't withdraw it, she said, because only the complainant can, and you've just told me you're not him. I stood there in a jacket 4 sizes too big and felt the trap close with real professional elegance. That's beautiful, I said. Whoever built that, honestly, chef's kiss. Nathaniel came up beside me, not in front, beside. I noticed, because I notice everything about him and it is a curse. Then take me in, he said. Absolutely not, I said. It's 72 hours. It's Thursday. Isaac. You keep saying my name like it's an argument. I turned on him. You want to go sit in a room and be examined by strangers for 3 days while somebody quietly recertifies $211,000 of nothing? Fine. Wonderful. Go. But do it knowing that's the entire point of this, and that you're walking into it because it feels noble, and noble is not a plan. It's a scent panel, not a prison. It's a panel that ends with your license flagged, which means every claim you ever certified gets reviewed, which means the Halloran file gets reviewed by whoever's holding it while you're not here. I jabbed a finger into his chest and it was like poking a wall. You are not the sacrifice in this story. I've already got one of those and he's standing in the doorway with a suit. Corbin, in the doorway, did not react at all. The officer cleared her throat. There's a third option. Say it fast. A withdrawal isn't the only thing that closes a complaint. A superseding filing does too, if it's made by someone with standing over the record. She said it carefully. She was choosing her words like a person walking on a frozen pond. The charter holder has standing over any filing made inside the charter's floor. The vents moved. Down on the point, a crane swung slowly through the gap in the blind. The charter holder, I said. Yes. Who would have to be identified? On the record, in front of everyone, with verification. Yes. And there it was. Not a trap, a door, with a price nailed to it. I understood the shape of the whole morning then, the way you understand a chess problem all at once, instead of a move at a time. Nobody wanted Nathaniel in a room. Nathaniel in a room was the cost of the thing, not the thing. Somebody wanted me to stand up in a building I had walked into as a junior clerk and say the sentence out loud, on a Tuesday, 29 days before I was ready, with no signatures and no allies and a broken drawer. Somebody wanted me on the chair early enough to fail. Isaac, Corbin said quietly, don't. You filed my mark at 8:04, to buy you 30 days. And somebody spent 11 of my minutes at 8:51 to take them back. I looked at him, really looked. My brother, who held my hand at 9 birds on the wallpaper, who has been ahead of me my entire life, and who was standing in that doorway looking absolutely, genuinely sick. Is this you? No, because it's very good. I know it is. His voice cracked down the middle, which I had never once heard. That's how I know it isn't mine. Mine would have worked. The floor behind the badges had gone silent again. 23 people. The tall man in the cardigan standing up at his desk. Prentice with his clipboard against his chest like a shield. Nathaniel put his hand flat between my shoulder blades. He did not push. He did not pull. He just put it there, warm through the borrowed jacket, and let it stay. Whatever you say next, he said, low, only for me. I'm standing here for it. And that, God help me, was the thing that decided it. Not the trap, not the clock. A hand between my shoulder blades that did not steer. I stepped forward. Fine, I said. Take it down, since we're all writing things in my name today. I pulled the collar of his jacket open. Then my own, 1 button, 2, and the 9th floor of Kestrel Marine, watched a junior claims clerk undress in a hallway for the 2nd time in 1 hour, and this time nobody made a sound at all. Isaac Quillen, I said. Charter mark. Entered on the ledger at 8:04 this morning, 30-day term. I hold the chair of this company until somebody proves otherwise, and I am superseding the complaint filed against Nathaniel Crowe at 8:51 on the ground that it is fraudulent, because I am the man it claims to have come from, and I have never in my life used the word undersigned. The officer wrote. Her pen was very loud. Recorded, she said. Chairman. The word went out across that floor like a stone into water. and in the second row, the tall man in the cardigan sat down very slowly, put both hands flat on his desk, and said, to nobody, "He's alive. God forgive us. The boy's alive." Every head on that floor turned. The man in the cardigan did not look up. He kept his hands flat on the desk like he was holding it down, and his shoulders were going, and he was crying with no sound at all, which is the worst kind to watch. I buttoned my shirt, slowly, because my hands were not entirely mine. "Otis," Nathaniel said. "Otis Dunn. 26 years, the man said to the desk. "I've sat at this desk 26 years. Somebody get him water," I said. Nobody moved, so Prentice moved, which I will remember about him. I crossed the floor. It took 9 steps. I counted them, because counting is what I do instead of panicking, and by step 6 I had worked out that a man who has spent 26 years at a desk on the 9th floor of Kestrel Marine was working here when I was 3 years old, and was working here when my father died, and was working here 14 months ago when a barge went down off Sandy Point, with $211,000 of nothing in the hold. I crouched by his chair the way Nathaniel had crouched by the couch. Level, not above. "Mr. Dunn, you were a little boy." He turned his head, and his eyes were red and old and completely undefended. "You came in with your father, and you sat on that filing cabinet, and you ate an entire sleeve of crackers out of the break room, and nobody stopped you because you were the only good thing that happened in this building all year." "I remember the cabinet," I said. My voice went somewhere unreliable. It had a dent in the side. "It's still there. Nobody's allowed to move it." He laughed, wet and awful. "Isaac, son, we were told you died." The room tipped. "What?" "4 years ago. After your father." He wiped his face with the flat of his hand, a working man's gesture. There was a notice. Internal. Signed off, filed, read out at the winter meeting, with the flag half down in the lobby, and I stood there, and I cried into a paper cup. The charter mark passed to the standing claim because the holder was deceased, and we all went back to our desks, and every certification this floor has issued for 4 years has been signed under a chair that we were told was empty. The vents kept moving harbor air. Somewhere far below, a horn. "That's why the recertifications work," I said slowly. "That's how you carry a recovery for 14 months that's never coming. Nobody's checking the chair, because the chair's vacant. Every 90 days, somebody signs on behalf of a dead man, and it's clean, because a dead man doesn't object." "Yes," Otis said. "Who signed the notice?" He looked past me. I turned around, still crouched, and Corbin was already walking toward us, with the garment bag left behind on the chair, and his face the color of the window blind. "Say it," I said. "I signed it." The whole floor heard it. Nathaniel did not move. I did not stand up, because I did not trust my legs, so I stayed down there by a crying old man and let my brother come to me. "Explain," I said. "And Corbin, I swear to God, use small words. Dad died on a Thursday, and the standing claim activated on the Friday. He stopped a few feet off. He kept his hands where I could see them, which I noticed. You were 22. You had a burn on your chest that hadn't stopped hurting yet. You were living in a room above a laundry, and the moment that mark hit the ledger, you belonged to this building. Every claim through your body, every contract through your scent. And there were men in this company then who had already worked out what an Omega chairman was worth. So you killed me." "I filed a notice," he said. "It moved the claim to me. It put every one of those men in a room with me instead of a room with you." His jaw was shaking. "And then you didn't come home for 3 years, and I let that be the price. And I have been running this company on a dead brother's chair since I was 26 years old, and it has cost me every single thing I like about myself. You let me think I walked away," I said. "You let me think that was mine. I built a whole personality on that." "I know. 3 years, Corbin, in a room above a laundry, $900 a month and a hot plate." "I know exactly what it was," he said. "I paid the deposit. Through a leasing company. The landlord thinks your aunt is a very generous woman." I put my head in my hands and laughed until it was not laughing. "Did you take the photograph?" Silence. "Corbin." "No," he said. "But I know who did, and I've known for 3 years, And I didn't tell you, and that's the same thing wearing a nicer coat. Nathaniel's voice came from behind me, very quiet, very level, and there was something under it that made the hair stand up on my arms. Say the name. Corbin looked at him. You should sit down, he said. Say it standing. It was your father, Corbin said. Marcus Crowe took it. He put it on your desk himself, in an envelope, on a Tuesday, because he'd worked out that you'd walk away, and he'd worked out what walking away would do. His eyes came back to me. And then he came to me and said he could make the Quillen boy disappear from the ledger quietly or loudly, and asked me which I preferred, and I chose quietly, and I signed the notice, and that's the sentence I've been carrying for 4 years. Nothing on the floor moved. I got up off my knees. I did it slowly, because everything in my head had gone to a high, thin ringing, and I turned around, and Nathaniel Crowe was standing there, with his hands open at his sides like a man who had been hit, and had not decided yet whether to fall. Nathaniel, I said. He's been in a care facility in Towson for 2 years. His voice came out flat and strange. I visit on Sundays. I take him the harbor report. He can't follow it anymore, but he likes the sound of it. Nathaniel. I stood in the rain, he said, and I broke your heart to keep you off a ledger, and my father put the photograph on my desk to make me do it, and it worked, and I never once suspected him, and he asked me last Sunday whether the cranes were still red. He looked at me. Isaac, who signs the Halloran recertification on Thursday? And Otis Dunn, behind me, said the answer before anyone else could. Marcus Crowe, he said. It's still his signature card. Nobody ever pulled it. I turned back to the desk. Otis Dunn was not looking at me anymore. He was looking at his own hands, and his hands were flat on the wood, and they were completely steady, which after 20 minutes of shaking was the loudest thing in the room. Mr. Dunn, I said, how many recertifications have you filed on the Halloran barge? 4, he said. Nobody breathed. Say the number again. 4. He lifted his chin. 14 months. 4 cycles. I typed every one of them at this desk on a Tuesday morning, and I signed them with a card that belongs to a man in Towson who cannot hold a pen. Otis, Nathaniel said. Don't. Otis put a hand up without turning. Don't you do that voice at me, son. I've known you since you were in a stroller in this lobby, and I'd like to get through this before I lose my nerve. I crouched again. My knees had opinions about it. The money isn't missing, I said. No. Where is it? Barge 4 went down off Sandy Point with 6 men on her, and 4 came up. He said it the way you say something you have said in your own head every night for a year. The insurer voided the policy on a technicality about the manifest. 14 pages of it. The families got nothing. Not a check, not a letter, not a man at the door. And this company put out a statement about regrettable circumstances and went back to lunch. The vents moved. Outside, the crane came down and stopped. So I opened a recovery file, he said. 211,000, carried as pending. And every 90 days I recertify it. And every 90 days a little of it goes out to 2 widows, a father in Dundalk, and a boy in his 2nd year at Towson University who thinks his tuition comes from a memorial fund. He finally looked at me. There is no fund, Isaac. There's me and a signature card. I could not speak for a second. Thursday, I said. Thursday's the last one. 52,000 and it's finished. And then I was going to put my badge on this desk and let somebody arrest me, and I had it all worked out until they told me the head of operations was going to be standing right here on Thursday morning reviewing the file. So you filed a complaint at 8:51. In your name, his mouth went. In your name, son, so it would go through fast. And I sat here and watched them come up in that elevator, for a man I've known 30 years. And I want you to understand that I knew exactly what I was doing, and I did it anyway. You'd have let him take 72 hours. I'd have let him take 72 hours, Otis said, for a boy in his 2nd year. Yes. Nobody on that floor made a sound. And here is the thing I had not planned for. Walking into this building at 9 in the morning with a paper trail and a broken drawer. I had spent 3 years building a case out of documents. I had a folder in my bag with tabs in it. I had come to prove that somebody in this company was a thief, and I was right. And he was a 70-year-old man who remembered the dent in a filing cabinet, because a little boy used to sit on it. He's the criminal, I thought, and his crime is that he was the only one who paid. I stood up. Officer, I said. She had her pen out. Of course she did. Pull Marcus Crowe's signature card. Today, this hour, in front of witnesses. It should have come off the wall 4 years ago, and the fact that it didn't is this company's failure, not his. Recorded. Second, I turned to the floor. 23 faces. The Halloran recovery file closes. There is no recovery. There was never a recovery. Kestrel voided 6 men's families on a manifest technicality, and then let one clerk carry the whole weight of that alone, for 14 months, and I'm not going to stand here and call that theft while I'm wearing the chair that let it happen. Isaac, Corbin said quietly, you can't just… I can, actually. That's the entire horror of this chair. I looked at him. You told me the mark makes me belong to the building. Fine. Then the building belongs to me too, and I'm spending it. I turned back to Otis. Kestrel opens a hardship account for the barge 4 families. Real one. Audited, published, my name on it. Effective now. Thursday's payment goes out of it instead, and it doesn't stop at 52,000. My throat was closing. And you're going to run it, because you're the only person in this company who has proven he'll do it, when it costs him something. Otis put his hands over his face. I falsified 4 federal filings, he said into them. Yes. And you'll answer for that properly, with a lawyer, and I'll be sitting behind you when you do, and I'll tell them exactly where the money went and who it went to. I put my hand on his shoulder. But you are not going to walk out of this building today as a thief, not while I'm standing here. You fed me crackers. He made a sound. I will not describe it. Prentice came back with the water and did not know what to do with it, so he set it down and stayed. Corbin was still by the desk, with nothing in his hands for the first time all morning. I'll testify, he said. The death notice. All of it. I'll file the correction myself this afternoon, and I'll sit for whatever comes after. Yes, I said. You will. Isaac! His voice broke. Am I forgiven? And I thought about a car in the rain, 11 minutes, engine running. No, I said. Not today. Maybe not this year. I held his eyes so he would know I meant every word of it. But you're my brother, and you're going to be at my table on Sunday, and we're going to do this the long way. That's the best I've got, and it's honest. He nodded and wiped his face and did not argue, which was the first thing he had done all morning that felt like family. Then there was a hand between my shoulder blades, warm, not steering. Chairman, Nathaniel said, don't start. I have to say it once. It's been a morning. I turned around and he was very close, and his jacket was still swallowing my hands, and cold iron and cedar were all over me like weather. Your father takes the harbor report on Sundays, I said. His face did something terrible. I'll come with you, I said. Not to forgive him. He doesn't know enough to be forgiven, and I'm not going to perform something that isn't real. But you shouldn't drive to Towson alone anymore. I got a fistful of his shirt. That's what I've got. Take it or don't. He kissed me in front of 23 people and 2 badges. Somewhere behind us, the elevator opened and nobody looked. When he let me go, I fixed my collar, 1 button at a time, all the way up over the bird on my chest. Third from the window, I said. I'm keeping the desk. It has a broken drawer. I know, I said. I like a project. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, you'll definitely love the next one. It's even crazier and more intriguing than you can imagine. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. The next story drops soon.